So first of all, happy International Women's Day, everyone. Before I talk about my journey and then talking about, STEM stories, I have another question for you, and that is, when you all were in high school, how many of you in high school knew what career you wanted? Raise your hand. Well, that's impressive. There are many of you. I had no idea. This is a picture of me in high school, graduating high school. I had no idea what career I wanted. I was going to apply undecided. And my dad said, don't go undecided. Go into engineering and then switch majors once you get in there. Because it's a harder major, you can then switch into anything. I was like, oh, that sounds good. But at least the college I went to, I had to decide a discipline under engineering. I couldn't just go into engineering. I knew nothing about engineering, nothing. I happened to meet a civil engineer. And this civil engineer was really cute and he had a nice tan. So I decided if I got to pick a major in engineering, I'm going to pick civil engineering so I can work with cute guys with nice tans. So I had a 33-year career in civil engineering as a result of that cute guy. My career, I graduated again in civil engineering, did a lot of different things, did environmental compliance inspections, did water resources, really a lot of different things, and really just continued working like probably many of you, a lot of deadlines, a lot of clients got to make happy, and didn't really even think about my career until I actually saw a tweet. So a tweet actually changed someone. Back in 2015, there's actually a tweet. And this tweet kind of had people think about what does an engineer look like? And there's a question about whether women look like engineers. So I think Marissa's here. I think she's in this picture. So 2015, I said the people in my office, is in Germantown, all the women engineers, I said, let's go see what women engineers or what engineers could look like. And I got the women engineers in the office, and we took this picture in 2015. That was kind of the start of my journey. And so, but again, made me start thinking. We had all these wonderful, women engineers, but it started making me think, well, how many civil engineers are actually women? So any guess, what % of civil engineers are women? 10%, pretty close. It's actually a little better than that. It's actually 14%. I had no idea. And that's why I think I was very fortunate within AECOM, within my career, there's a lot more than 14% women, people I was working with. And so started looking at, all types of engineering or all types of STEM. And you'll see it really varies as far as the percent. None of it is great, but you see different levels. Environmental scientists, 36, but I also recognize within there's certain disciplines in the environmental scientists that is actually a lot less than that. Architects, computer science, things like that. Mechanical engineers is actually one of the lowest in engineering, one of the lowest women representation. But then everyone I talked to, I was like, did you realize it's only 14% women engineers? And in these other fields, really underrepresented? And almost everyone I talked to said, it's just a matter of time, it's getting better. It's just a little more time and it's going to be better. And so engineer I am, I was like, well, what are the facts? I want to see what actually is happening. Is it actually getting better? So actually looked at the facts. And this is actually the percent women engineers since 1970. When I graduated college, it was at 13.5%. It peaked. People don't realize it actually peaked in 2002 at 19%. And then 2014, which is the last stat I had here, was 18.4%. It's actually, I think, gone up slightly. But so the people are saying, it's just a matter of time, it's getting better, that's not what the facts are showing. But I think what may be a little unique about engineering is we also need to think of everyone. Because again, looking at the research, it isn't just underrepresented groups that aren't as interested in engineering anymore, it's everyone. And so it's important, I think, that we look for everyone. So again, looked at the research, there are a number of studies, came to the same conclusion. What do you think the number one reason that both boys and girls, teens, don't consider engineering as a career? Too hard. and that's what you think. That's their initial reaction, or maybe they don't like math or whatever. Well, based on these surveys, actually number one reason is because they didn't know about engineering. So they don't know about engineering, so they're not even considering engineering. And again, this has been several studies that basically said the same thing. What's holding teens back, boys and girls, is they don't know about engineering. So that's where I was like, well, we can change this. I know what engineers do, at least know what civil engineers do. So that's why I co-founded, I have another lady that I co-founded this with, another civil engineer, she's out in California, and we co-founded RePicture Engineering. And our mission is to increase interest in diversity in engineering. So it's not just diversity, it's also interest. We want to get everyone. We want a big playing ground to basically have everyone give the opportunity to think about being an engineer. So diversity in design is important, that we need to be considering everyone that may be using our work. And I think one way to do that is to make sure everyone's involved in creating it. So I decided, okay, diversity is important in what we do. So again, engineer, figured out, well, why isn't there more diversity in engineering, or even interest in engineering? And again, the first reason is because they don't know what engineers do. And that was exactly my case. So my dad is an engineer, electrical engineer. He never told me what he did. So I had no idea what engineers do. So that was definitely me thinking, oh, never considered until my dad said do this instead of undecided, because I didn't know what they do. The reason for the gender diversity often is, especially for the younger generation, it's important to them to have a job that helps people, help society. And people incorrectly do not associate engineering with helping people or helping society. And as we all know, everything we do is to help people. And so we got to change that perception. We got to make sure that people understand the work we do is to help people. And then the last reason, actually the University of Wisconsin said the #1 reason for the gender disparity is because women don't think they look like an engineer. And that was definitely me. So I said I was going to go and decided I had to pick a major in engineering, chose civil engineering for the cute guy, but it really didn't matter that much to me because I was going to transfer out. And there's no way I was going to be an engineer because there's no way I was smart enough to be an engineer because I wasn't one of the guys in my class. I got good grades, but in my mind, it was only those smart guys in the class who were engineers. And this definitely applied to me. So again, the good news is there are things we can do with each of these by telling stories. So if people don't know what engineers do, well, let's tell the stories of engineering. If they want a job that helps people, they don't think engineering helps people, well, let's, when we talk about engineering, actually talk about how it helps people. And if they don't think they look like engineers, well, let's show the diversity we do have in engineering. And again, this can apply to STEM also, but I'm picking engineering because that's my background. But there is diversity in engineering. It's just a matter of making sure that we show people there is that diversity. So, and again, when I talk diversity, it's not just a gender thing, it's not just a race thing, it's even diversity in what we do. I mean, we want, I think we could all benefit by having more, musical people, the artistic people, engineering, more people that are, athletes, things like that. It's really diversity in all different areas that we're interested in increasing. So one thing I got to mention though, and again, I had no idea, I said I was just doing my job for 33 years. There's actually a retention problem with women. So ends up 40% of women engineers, they get their degree and they drop out. So how do we change that? So that is actually higher than when you go into medicine, you go into law, you go into accounting. There's not as high a dropout rate as we have for in engineering. And the male dropout rate is 10%, which again, hopefully we can do something for that 10%, but it's not that 40%. So I think we need to recognize there's also that dropout rate, that if we want to increase diversity, we got to figure out how to retain people too. So what do you think? Of course, there are studies done. What do you think the #1 reason women said that they dropped out of engineering? Having a family? Yeah, and that's typically what I hear from people, what they typically think. But actually, the survey of 5,000 women, the #1 was they lost interest in engineering, which I'm going to come back to because I'm not sure I believe that, but it's lost interest. #2 is exactly work-life balance, having a family. But remember I said doctors have a lower dropout rate than engineers. And I got a friend who's a doctor, and her work-life balance is even more challenging than mine as a consultant in engineering. So I'm not sure I totally believe that either, because I believe it, but I think there may be other issues type thing, because if medicine has a lower dropout rate, there's got to be something different there. And then the third reason is culture, lack of advancement. And I suspect if you talk to those 10% men, they probably have that issue too. I suspect that, it's not just a gender thing. I think there's that, lack of advancement men also. So everything I've told you up to now has kind of been fact. This is now Lynn Mayo's theory. Hopefully someday you'll read about my theory. But my theory about why women are dropping out is they're not finding the right career. Because within engineering, there's so many different things you could do. You could be building robots, you could be designing land development. You could be working in teams, you could be working in computers. Even within civil engineering, you could be, and I know some people here, doing work for the international development community. I mean, you could be basically helping, people in Africa get safe drinking water, or you could be building a skyscraper in New York. I mean, there's just so many different things to do. And so I gotta think when that number one issue was they lost interest in engineering, how much of it was they just didn't know which type of engineering was right for them. So, goes back to storytelling. I truly believe some of this answer is as simple as, it's not simple, but storytelling can change us. Because storytelling is what really impacts people. And I know I just gave a whole bunch of facts. I saw a lot of scientists, engineers here, so I figured you probably wanted those facts. But most people want the stories. And I think by doing storytelling, we really can have an impact. So that leads me to an ask. And that's what, I don't know if everyone in here realizes that you have a superpower. And I'm going to ask you to use your superpower. Because one of the things we want to do is show that all types of people work on engineering type projects, that engineers do not work by themselves. Typical student thinks as an engineer we just work by ourselves. In reality, they're teams. So everyone can help us with this. And tell your story to everyone that you know, especially young people, and talk about the benefits, the good things that you're doing, because you really can make a change. So just some messaging, and I don't know how much time we have, but I'll go through this really quick. This is basically, we talk about the best way to tell the message is things like talk about how it's creative, it's problem solving. Kids want to be involved in problem solving. They want to know that that does make a difference. There is a benefit. It's good for our health, happiness, and safety. We're shaping the future. Everyone in this room is helping shape the future. And let's tell that story. And then also, we make a world of difference. Again, everyone in this room, in your way, is making a difference. So think about you're building that cathedral, and talk about building the cathedral, not about laying the brick. So if you don't encourage kids, who's going to, right? So it's up to all of us. We need to spend our time encouraging kids, helping them find the right career. So in summary, diversity in engineering and STEM, it's not just going to happen. It's not going to happen. We all need to do something about it. Diversity of thought, it's good for all. Everything that we do affects people, and it's good to have that diversity of thought for a number of reasons. Telling the stories of STEM can change things, so let's tell those stories. And you all have a superpower, and I ask you to use your superpower.